Hi there, I'm Aaron, and I'm here at Together for the Gospel 2012 with Tad Thompson, author of Intentional Parenting from Cruciform Press. Hi, Tad.
Hi, Aaron.
Hi. Um, Tad, can you tell me a little bit about intentional parenting?
Yeah, Intentional Parenting is really a book that came out of the ministry and that I have at Harvard Avenue Baptist in Siloam Springs, and actually did a survey there at Harvard Avenue in my second year of pastoring there, and discovered in that survey that um, over 80% of our families were having little or no spiritual conversation in the home,
Mm.
and that just really sparked a passion in me to begin thinking about how do we really equip parents to be discipling
Mm.
their children, because the church only has really a brief slice of time
Mm-hmm.
to invest in families, even
Mm-hmm.
families that are involved in um, almost everything the church offers. You're still
Yeah.
getting just a brief slice of the pie. And
Yeah.
of course, Scripture commands
Yeah.
that parents are the primary disciplers in the lives of their children.
Mm-hmm.
So, really, intentional parenting birthed from that need to equip the parents in our church.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's not really a book that gives you the discipleship content. It's a
Mm-hmm.
book that gives you a plan,
Mm-hmm.
the big picture,
Yeah.
simple plan for discipleship in the home.
How do you find that the gospel applies to parenting?
Well, I think there's a lot of misplaced goals in parenting,
Mm-hmm.
and I talk about this in the book that sometimes we parent so that our kids will love us.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we parent so that our kids will love themselves,
Mm-hmm.
or we parent so that they'll be successful,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe we even parent so they'll be moral
Mm.
people. Um, Moral people, successful people, people with a high self-esteem, and people who, like us, still all go to hell without Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be another goal for parenting. The goal of parenting for the Christian home is to raise children who treasure Christ above all
Mm-hmm.
things, who set their hope in God. And that's where the gospel has to provide the framework
Mm-hmm.
for our parenting,
Mm-hmm.
because the whole goal of parenting has to be to point our children to Christ,
Yeah.
and just like we've talked about this week
Mm-hmm.
at the Together for the Gospel conference, is
Mm-hmm.
that the gospel has to be articulated. It can't just be modeled.
Yeah.
It needs to be both.
Yep.
And but I believe if it's not both modeled and articulated,
Mm-hmm.
then there's a big disconnect between what the gospel is. And so
Absolutely.
we've got to show our kids, teach them to treasure Christ above all things.
Mm-hmm. What is one thing that you are hoping that parents will be encouraged by uh, in the book?
There's a couple things. The first thing I want parents to be encouraged by is family discipleship is a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and the call of that responsibility is daunting.
Mm-hmm.
And when you truly think about what discipleship is teaching them to observe all that Christ has commanded.
Mm-hmm.
And so the encouragement I want to bring is that we're all fallen. We all need the grace of God. We only can disciple our kids by the grace of God.
Mm-hmm.
And He's given us that responsibility, and so He will empower us
Mm-hmm.
to do it. And the other thing I want parents to be encouraged by is that I just felt like parents needed a framework
Mm-hmm.
to think about family discipleship.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want them to pick up the book and see it as this is the only way
Mm-hmm.
to do it. These are the only things you need to do. I want them just to begin thinking about a framework
Mm-hmm.
and developing. That's why it's called intentional parenting.
Yeah.
Developing an intentional plan and process
Mm-hmm.
to disciple their kids, and also to think about it holistically.
Mm-hmm.
Discipleship isn't just family worship.
Mm-hmm.
You can have family worship every day of your child's life, and they won't necessarily be disciples. It's
Yeah.
about training them to do the things God has
Yeah.
called us to do. So
Yeah.
it's vitally important to have a holistic look. What does this mean about how we participate in church life?
Mm-hmm.
What does this mean about how we invest in our community? What does this mean in how we view the world?
Mm-hmm.
In what's our mission as a family as we're called to bring the gospel to the nations. So I really just want to encourage parents by just giving them a way to think about family discipleship from a scriptural perspective. So.
Wonderful.